Just 2 weeks remain of the Premier League season, and today's video is predicting week 37 of the Premier League. And really, the season's practically over. It's only the top half of the table that really matters. And there are some crucial games to decide whether teams will get Champions League or not Champions League. So without further ado, let's begin the predictions. Starting off at Villa Park, it is Aston Villa versus Tottenham Hotspur. And Tottenham Hotspur was atrocious. I mean, they have no fight. They don't care a fiddle about the Premier League. You can really tell. When Crystal Palace was on the attack against Tottenham, no one was marking up a lot of the time in crucial areas, and the defence was all over the place, completely disorganised. No defensive awareness. Tottenham, you only care about that crucial final against Manchester United in the Europa League. So I don't see you winning this, especially when Aston Villa actually is playing well in the Premier League and Tottenham are absolutely terrible. I'm going for an absolute thrashing, 3-0 to Aston Villa. Aston Villa, you are cooking, and Tottenham, you are melting. Over to Stamford Bridge, it is Chelsea versus Manchester United. Despite Chelsea not having Nicholas Jackson in this game, I don't think it would matter because Man United lost to West Ham 2-0. I mean, it cannot get worse. Again, I feel like they only care about the final. They're so focused and distracted by thinking about the final that they just don't have any desire to play in the Premier League and get good results. They just do not care a fiddle, like Tottenham. They don't care a fiddle where they finish. They just want a trophy. And somehow, at least either Tottenham or Man United this season is actually gonna be in the Champions League next season. Two teams that finished in 17th and 16th, at least one of them are gonna be in the Champions League. I mean, to me, that is completely bizarre. And yeah, I've been speaking terrible about Man United, which probably means I'm gonna go for a Chelsea win. And that's exactly what I'm gonna do. It's a common scoreline I'm gonna give. 2-1 to the home side Chelsea, and a much better side at the moment. A team that actually cares about winning in the Premier League because they are fighting for a Champions League spot. Next one is Everton at Goodison Park versus Southampton. The last game Everton will ever play at Goodison Park in the Premier League. And they face Southampton. Well done, Southampton, because I said you would lose 4-0, and there was literally not even a little speck of a percentage that I would have went for you to get anything in that game. You completely shocked me, and probably shocked everyone. But to be fair, it wasn't exactly an entertaining game throughout the majority of it, and it's very rare that Southampton can consistently not lose back-to-back. And considering you're away facing Everton, which probably really wants to get a win in this game, not just because winning is good, obviously, but they're probably wanting to end off at Goodison Park with a bang. And that's exactly what's going to happen. Against last place, 1-0 to Everton. Has to be the last game at Goodison Park. But Southampton, congratulations of not beating or drawing with the worst points tally in the Premier League with Derby County. Well done. You are not completely humiliated this season. Still got 12 points though, which isn't the best. Over to the London Stadium, it is West Ham United versus Nottingham Forest. And Nottingham Forest, they've been trickling down the table slightly. They've moved all the way down to 7th. And that is where I think they're going to finish. West Ham got a bit of positivity from the 2-0 win against Man United. And overall, if Nottingham Forest drew to Leicester City, which kind of quickly say Leicester has nothing to fight for, and Nottingham Forest does. So the fact that they drew to Leicester, why can't they draw against West Ham? And I feel like West Ham are a better team than Leicester. And the fact that West Ham at home as well. But before I predict, I'm just going to have to say, Nottingham Forest, what a great season you've had. Even if you finish in 7th, It is still an improvement from the last 2 years in the Premier League. 16th and 17th, scraping relegation back-to-back seasons to having a really easy sailing season of being nowhere near the relegation zone. They've still had a good season, but overall in recent time, I have started to see a pattern that you're not getting wins over the line as frequently. And if West Ham can score first, it's going to be very hard for Nottingham Forest to win. I'm going 1-1 between West Ham and Nottingham Forest. Over to a bit of a London derby at the G-Tech Community Stadium. It is Brentford versus Fulham. And Fulham, well, they lost 3-1 to Everton. It wasn't the best game for them, you could say. But looking at it, they've only got 3 points in the last 5 games. They're probably not going to get Europe, considering they're 4 points away from 8th place, which 8th place could get Europe. And Brentford, they could get Europe. I'm going for a 3-2 Fulham win. And I'll tell you why. Is Fulham, they haven't won much in recent time. And normally that means they're going to win. It's the way the pattern works. Fulham normally have an even split of win and loss games throughout the season in the last 5 games. And at the moment, they've only got 1 win and 4 losses. And it just feels like they're too good of a side to say they're going to have another loss in a row. So I feel like they're going to win this, but in a very tight game, because you know how good quality both of these sides are. I'm going 3-2 to the Cottagers, away from home in a London derby. But it's because I feel like they're due a win for Fulham. Over to quite an interesting game, despite this technically being pointless to the Premier League table. It is at the King Power Stadium. It is Leicester City versus Ipswich Town. Now, obviously these two sides are relegated, but I have to admit, Leicester City, they got a point against Nottingham Forest. That was brilliant. A 2-2 draw against Nottingham Forest. And also you got a 2-0 win against Southampton, battering Southampton. But Ipswich Town, you lost to Brentford, only just about. You gave it a good fight though, and I am tempted to go towards Ipswich Town, and here's why. Overall, throughout the entire season, I feel like they've been better. Overall. But at the moment, I feel like they're both equal. But also, Ipswich Town, why I think I'll go for them over Leicester is probably because they have a better away form than their home form. They've got 15 points away and just 7 points at home. So it makes me feel like, considering this is facing 19th position, that they can win. But I'm thinking, Leicester, all of a sudden you start to feel a bit better. The last couple of games, and not even the last couple of games, when you faced Brighton, you didn't look that bad. So you know what? I think it's going to go down the middle. I can't split them, as you've heard between my analysis of both teams. They both are quite even. I mean, they're on the same points in the table. I would have went for Ipswich if you said 3 or 4 weeks ago, but because of how Leicester started to perform in recent time, I'm going to have to go down the middle, 2-2 for a Desmond Tutu. And this time, I'm going to say Jamie Vardy will score his 200th Premier League goal against Ipswich. Probably because Ipswich has not been good defensively this season. So I feel like Jamie Vardy, it should be easier for him to get his 200th Premier League goal. Now on to a really spicy matchup at the Emirates Stadium. It is the Gunners versus Newcastle United, and Newcastle 2-0. I went against Newcastle United, my favourite team, and I went 1-1 against Chelsea. No, brilliant performance. Newcastle are cooking, and I can't go against Newcastle again, not even a draw. And that's because Arsenal against Newcastle throughout the entire season, all 3 games that have faced between these two sides, Newcastle have won them all. And I've watched those games, and what I've seen is Eddie Howe knows how to counteract Arsenal's style of play. We've seen it in the Carabao Cup done significantly well. The way Newcastle change it, the way Eddie Howe changes it up to go 5 at the back and defend, but start off the game being on the front foot, pressing high, energetic, surprising Arsenal, fast football, attacking. I mean, Newcastle have proven it countless time and time again, and you have to admit, Arsenal have been dropping points against a lot of teams this season, It was a good comeback against Liverpool, but against Newcastle here, I can't see them scoring past Big Dan Burn. And despite Isak not necessarily being amazing in terms of goal scoring form or getting into the right positions or making the right decisions, Newcastle still have great players around him, and he is still a great player that can easily get back on it. I mean, everything I've said there is surely convincing enough that Newcastle will win this 1-0 away from home. I mean, think about it. Arsenal have dropped points against a lot of teams this season where you don't think they would. And also, Arsenal struggled to score a lot. I know they scored 2 against Liverpool, but overall, as an overall season, they don't. Over to the Amex Stadium, and it's Brighton and Hove Albion versus Liverpool. And I was actually tempted to go for a draw, considering you can definitely tell Liverpool have lost the spark to properly try in these games. They still try to a certain extent, but you can tell the way they press, the way they allowed Arsenal to attack them at some points, and the fact that they somehow lost 3-1 to Chelsea ever since they won the title. Evidently, it doesn't really matter, does it? They don't really care what happens in this game deep down. They've won the title. But even so, I still feel like even a non-proper 100% trying Liverpool can beat Brighton. Brighton, you did brilliantly to win 2-0 against a very good Wolverhampton Wanderers side. I was even tempted to go for a Wolves win, but I went for a draw in that game, and I wasn't even thinking of a Brighton win. So I will give you the benefit of doubt, and I will go for a close game. I'm going 2-1 to Liverpool, but I still feel like Liverpool still have too much quality overall against Brighton. But it will be definitely a closer game than it would normally be. And I am extremely close to go for a draw, because Liverpool don't care a fiddle about the Premier League, because they've already won the title. So I am tempted to go for a draw. To Selhurst Park, and it is Crystal Palace versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. And Wolves, obviously under Vitor Pereira, has been doing quite well, although the last 2 games they have lost 1-0 against Man City, they have lost 2-0 against Brighton. And you know what? That's a bit disappointing in my opinion. And I feel like Crystal Palace, they're obviously in the final against Man City. And you know what? I really want Crystal Palace to win. Like, I really want them to win. Because wouldn't that be brilliant? I can't remember a time where Crystal Palace has won a trophy. And I feel like they deserve it. They've been playing brilliantly all season. But going away from the final, when they do play Wolves, whatever happens with that final, it's not going to change my opinion on what the score's going to be in this game. I think Crystal Palace are a better side, full stop. And considering they won the last game, and Wolves have lost the last 2 games, and Crystal Palace is home, I feel like it's going to be a tight game. But Crystal Palace will win this 1-0, just about. I feel like ever since Wolves lost, and they lost the momentum of Vitor Pereira coming in and having loads of wins, and they finally lost those wins, it's kind of had a domino effect to the results, and I feel like another loss is going to happen. But really, it doesn't really matter what happens for the rest of the season, because they're not going to be able to qualify for anything, and they're already staying up. So them losing this game isn't the end of the world. But 1-0 to Crystal Palace. To the Etihad Stadium, it is Manchester City versus AFC Bournemouth. And I feel like Man City are going to win this game. I'm going for a 2-0 win towards Manchester City. Yes, they did draw 0-0 with Southampton, which isn't the most convincing game, but to be honest, I don't see that happening back to back. Bournemouth will liven things up. They're going to be a bit more attacking than Southampton was, which probably means a few more gaps at the back will be open up for Bournemouth in the defence, which means Man City can play their tiki-taka football, possession style football, and get a win. I'm going 2-0 to Man City, as I've already said. And that's purely because I think Man City's a better side. They're home here, which is an advantage. And also, they have been doing pretty well in recent time. And they're just better than Bournemouth at the moment. But moving to goal of week 36, I'm giving it to Bruno Guimaraes. It was a great strike from outside the box. It did take a deflection, and I don't normally give goal of the weeks which have deflections in, but to be honest, out of all the goals, this is probably the best, and it's still a good goal despite the deflection. But how did I do last week? Well, I got 3 points out of a possible 20 points. And oh my gosh, the latter stages of this season is probably going to be random because a lot of teams have got nothing to fight for, so it's going to be impossible to predict. Or maybe I'm just bad at predicting. Overall, that does put me on 186 points out of 720 points. But hopefully you are having a nice day. In fact, a lovely day. But for now, one more thing to say, as I always say, toodle pip.